My name is Amreen, and I have watched some really wacky films which I would love to share with you guys here. Since my strange book recommendations resonated with so many here on YouTube and on Instagram as well. Now, these are all foreign language movies, except for two that I will mention very quickly in the end. So, yeah, they're all foreign language movies, some of the best films of world cinema. And I'd be lying if I said that I didn't have to step out of my comfort zone to watch them. But I'm so glad that I did. And some of these movies are very dark, very disturbing, very gruesome, even. So don't tell me that I didn't warn you. But I enjoyed every second of every film that I'm going to talk about. So let's begin. The Piano Teacher, or La Pianiste en français. So we have Erica, played by super talented Isabel Huppert. She's a piano teacher, and believe me, you will never look at a piano the same again after you watch this film. So she lives with her mother, and it's an overbearing, very obsessive, a very unhealthy relationship that sort of seeps into her personality and takes many different forms, seriously disturbing forms. At some point, it felt like, I don't want to watch what happens to this person any more disturbing. Then we have Mike Lee's Naked. Johnny, the protagonist, and his bitter but honest rants they're a sight to watch. But I am going to contradict myself by also saying that this movie can feel a little uncomfortable to sit through. The screenplay, the dialogues, they hit you right in the face, and so does Johnny's outrageous behavior. Next up is Gaspar Noé's Climax. Not one, but all characters in here are crazy. And obviously they would be, because they're all out of it, if you know what I mean. Now, all of them are dancers, and they're shockingly amazing, especially the crazy dance sequence during the first few minutes of the film. That is really unbelievable. I remember Aisha and I watched that part at least 3 times, and then we watched the rest of the film. In fact, even after we finished the movie, we watched that dance sequence once more. So they're spending the night rehearsing and celebrating and something of that sort in an empty school somewhere while it's snowing like crazy outside, and things just mess up. Like, they go seriously, horribly, and nightmarishly wrong. So this is not just a movie, like, it's not just a film with disturbing characters. It's a disturbing film in and of itself. The next one is Peppermint Candy, a very unusual name, and if you watch the film, you'll know why. But yeah, it's a very sweet name. The movie is not. It's actually a very sad story about an absolutely sane and loving boy's descent into adulthood, i.e. madness, into real life, into the rotten world and all the rotten things that it can make you do, it can put you through. Despite it all, you're expected and sometimes even told to buckle up and keep going, like nothing ever happened, like your innocence wasn't destroyed, it wasn't exploited through no fault of your own. So if you plan on really watching this film, then I request you to dig deeper, to peel the layers before you dismiss the protagonist as I don't know, annoying, unlikable, or anything of the sort. Moving on. Now, this particular genre I find very interesting, even more so if it's a South Korean film. I love South Korean cinema, and I actually have many such recommendations from this particular genre, which is crime and thriller. I have watched plenty of such movies. Don't ask me why. The movie I'm talking about right now is The Chaser by none other than Na Hong Jin, the very person who gave us The Wailing. So if you watched The Wailing and liked it, then go ahead and watch The Chaser as well, by all means. But if you haven't, then let me warn you, there will be blood. There will be some very dark and very disturbing elements, and of course there will be supercharged chase scenes. But at the same time, there will also be empathy. not toward the serial killer, but another character. You'll know who I'm talking about if you watch the film. Now, how about some Ari Aster? So Midsommar was my first Ari Aster film, I think. Yeah, and it was actually one of my first few A24 films. So first 10 minutes into this movie and you know that it's going to be a bizarre film. A very, very bizarre film. And once you reach the jumping off the cliff scene, there is no way that you can go back and unwatch that. There's no way you can unremember that. So it's about a couple, a girl and a boy and his friends. They go to this breathtaking countryside, this really gorgeous countryside of Sweden for a traditional ancestral festival of some kind. So we're talking flowers, psychedelic mushrooms, weird potions of something and other hallucinogens. So this ritual, it's actually a series of rituals in this case. It is bizarre, yes, but I don't know, something about it felt weirdly peaceful. Now, I don't know if I should be saying that, but I think it's the aesthetic appeal of the movie that, it sort of neutralized the horror of Midsommar. But I know that I'm going to Sweden when I get really old. If you watch the movie, you'll know why anyone shouldn't be saying this. But maybe I should work on my sense of humor. Okay, anyway, speaking of sense of humor, you will certainly want to keep that aside when you watch Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters. Crazy, and twisted, so twisted. Very neat person Yukio Mishima was. He wanted to turn his own body into, and his life, his story, his narrative into a work of art, which he obviously did. But let's keep Mishima's very disturbing novels aside for a second here and talk about who and how he was and how and why what actually happened on the 25th of November in 1970. Paul Schrader has so flawlessly captured the inner workings of not only that day but also of such a haunting, self-obsessed and disturbingly artistic character as Yukio Mishima. If that's the kind of discussion you want to have, please watch this film and get those rock-hard abs. From start to finish, this Austrian-German thriller, psychological horror will keep your every waking second while watching this film occupied. It's one of those films that I would watch over and over again just to get comfortable with the dread. Even then, I think, no matter how many times I watch Goodnight Mommy, it will continue to unsettle me. So your mother, she comes back from the hospital after a face surgery of some sort. But is she really your mother? Because her face is all bandaged up, so you can't see her face. Does that justify her twins sort of tying her up and torturing her until she reveals the truth? And the truth is as terrifying, as shocking even as every single thing that happens in the movie. And the narrative is actually very deceptive. Alright, the last one. And listen, if you're going to judge me for finding this next film absolutely ridiculously fantastic, then you and I can't be friends. So what film am I talking about? Oldboy. 15 years of imprisonment, 5 days of vengeance. And oh my god, the vengeance, the horror of this vengeance. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Indeed, that is true. And so cold that it goes beyond disturbing, it goes beyond shocking. So during the film, you're watching the protagonist, you see him do all these crazy, all these insane and disturbing things to people. But by the end of the film, and of course no spoilers, by the end of the film, the narrative just shifts on its head. So if you have not watched this film, there's just no way you can tell what kind of revenge thriller it's going to be. One of the best films in my opinion. Now I just want to mention maybe 4 to 5 movies that didn't make it to the list, but I'll just very quickly mention them. So we have Amores Perros, I think that's how you pronounce it, Amores Perros. So my sister speaks very highly of this movie and she told me that if you're going through your days, like if you're going from one day to the next, feeling sort of nothing, feeling a little numb, like you're not moved by anything, then you should watch this film. Then we have Taste of Cherry. Now, the protagonist, played by one of the greatest performers of all time, Humayun Irshadi. Now, he is more depressing than disturbing. Driving around in your own car, trying to, find someone, more like trying to convince someone, anyone, to bury you after you perform the act. That is insane. Like, of course, something about that is very disturbing. Then we have The Devil All the Time. Now, something about this movie is very unsettling. Robert Pattinson's character is extremely creepy, but I enjoyed his performance. I also liked his High Life. I also liked his Good Time. Yeah, I think he's done a brilliant job in all of these three films. And I also like him as Batman, so zip it. And the last but not least recommendation is a film close to home. It's Raman Raghav, directed by Anurag Kashyap. So there's Raman Raghav, Gangs of Wasseypur, Dev D, all outstanding films. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you watched some of these films, and if you do, please let me know in the comment section whether you liked them, how disturbing were they, and if you have such disturbing recommendations for me, please let me know. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and thank you for watching. Bye for now. Au revoir.